and welcome back to Overbooked. I'm Amanda, and today we're going to be doing a book review of the book Sally Ride, America's First Woman in Space by Lynn Sherr. I read this book for the Reading Women Challenge, and it was for prompt number 15, Biography, and I read this on Hoopla through my library's audiobook app, and highly recommend that if you guys haven't hit up your library's apps, do so. It's been great in this time of need for books and free materials, so definitely recommend that. I have talked about in the past how I'm not a huge fan of audiobooks, but I didn't mind this one, and I'm kind of getting used to it as long as I have something that I can kind of mindlessly focus on. So I've been doing puzzles while I listen to my audiobooks, been playing Animal Crossing, so it's kind of nice and enjoyable. So I really enjoyed this book. Honestly, I don't know a bunch about Sally Ride. I wasn't really aware of her a ton, and it was really cool to get this deep dive into this, really important woman in America's history. I thought this book was really well done. Lynn Sherr was actually a friend of Sally Ride's, and she is a journalist, and I think that I really enjoy nonfiction books written by journalists, and I think that journalists really know how to write a story and know how to captivate your attention while delivering you these important information, important facts, and I just really enjoyed how the story and information flowed off the page and the pacing and the setups of the story. Obviously the story, or the book, I should say, it's not a story, it's real. The book starts off with Sally's life as a girl and then how her life brought her to NASA, and it was never her initial plan to become an astronaut, and for a long time she thought that she was going to be a professional tennis player, which I thought was really interesting how that panned out for her. And I think that's interesting in general to know if you ask a lot of people what they went to school for, or what they thought they were originally going to set out to be, and then what they actually are right now, it's always fascinating to see how people's paths veer off or change or stay the same in some cases. But I thought that was really interesting how, being an astronaut and working for NASA wasn't even really on Sally Ride's radar for the longest time. And she ends up finding a ad in the paper, I think it was, for applicants to apply for NASA when they first started allowing women and wanted to get more people of color into their program. So it was really interesting to start to read this book because as it starts off, I see that like Sally, they talk about how she was really reserved and she didn't really like talk about her feelings, and her family was the same. They didn't show a lot of affection towards each other, or they didn't really talk a lot about really deep and profound issues in their life. But I also found that I think that she was born with a lot of privilege and opportunity that not a lot of other people were granted at her time. She was able to go to accredited schools and had a lot of learning opportunities that I don't think are presented to a lot of women or other minorities, or people of color, I should say. I just thought that was interesting to note because when we go through and we get to the point where she's applying for NASA, NASA's trying to get more women and more people of color involved, and I just kind of thought that was interesting, and I would really like to see what like the people of color, in particular the women of color, what their background story was, because I just feel that this was like a perfect equation, I guess, or situation that Sally was set up to, be able to go to an accredited school, be accepted into a great program, have the financial backing of her family and her parents to achieve her goals. And I just thought that was really interesting, something to note, and I just was curious about the other applicants into the program. And I wonder if they came from very similar backgrounds or who NASA may have overturned because they didn't have the same opportunities and support system, I guess. So that was kind of interesting to read and listen to, and I kind of kept that in the back of my mind while I was listening. But even though she was granted all of these privileges and opportunities, I thought that it was really nice to see towards the end of the book how she does give back. And I don't think we see that a lot in people of, of privilege or opportunity, I think they take that for granted a lot. And Sally, I don't know, I guess that she took it for granted or she realized that she had received all of that, but she definitely gave back. She started a program that focused on helping girls and minorities achieve success in STEM or introduce STEM to school-age children. I can't exactly remember what the program was, but the focus was on girls and minorities. So it was interesting to see how she, had all this privilege and opportunity, but reached out a hand to assist those who may not have. Going back to her days as an astronaut, I thought this book did a really good job of highlighting how much pressure Sally was under to achieve greatness and perform every task perfectly because she was indeed the first woman. There was only, I think, 6 or 8 women accepted into the program, so being chosen out of that group of women to represent them and represent women all across the country would have been, I think, extremely just so hard to take in. I think it just would have been so much pressure, and you would have felt the immense pressure to perform well because you wanted to make sure that you were not the first and the last to do this. So it's just crazy how I think we put so much immense pressure on these people who are the first. And I think that it's just unfair because you deserve the same amount of grace and willingness to make mistakes, I guess, along with everybody else. But I don't know. She did it. She did it flawlessly. And I'm so glad she did because it opened up a lot of doors and opportunities. Thanks, Sally Ride. Those were a couple of things that I just really, really enjoyed, the points that were pointed out, and I enjoyed learning those things about Sally Ride. A couple of the comments or reviews, I guess I was reading on Goodreads that had some negative thoughts were Sally Ride was a very, very private person. She didn't open up for a lot of things or a lot of journalists or didn't disclose a lot of information about her personal life. And this book was written after her death. So even though Lynn Sherr was a good friend of Sally Ride's, a lot of the information in the book she didn't even know about while Sally Ride was alive. And the fact that Sally was in a romantic and intimate relationship with a woman for 25 plus years was a big shock to her and the rest of the country. And it was reiterated over and over again how private Sally was. And a lot of the reviews were talking about how it was kind of disappointing to see how the author just kept reiterating that fact, how private Sally is, but then kind of did this huge opening up and showing us all the intimate details of Sally Ride's life. But I think that, Lynn Sherr was very close to her friend, and she was close to Sally Ride's partner, and her partner, whose name is escaping me, gave her the permission to go forth and write this book and include their relationship in it. And I think that if I was a partner with somebody for, over 2 decades, I would know and respect where their boundaries were and what they would be willing to do. And at the end of her life, but Sally's partner asks Sally as she's writing her obituary, because Sally had cancer and she knew the end was coming, and she asked her if she could disclose about their information or their relationship in the obituary, and Sally agreed. So I think that at her deathbed, I think Sally was ready to be open and transparent. But it was a little disappointing because I think that at the end of the book, Lynn Sherr talks about how at the end after Sally passed and everyone found out about, her relationship with her partner, there was almost there was this shift of focus on how she was gay and didn't stand up for gay rights during her life. Took away almost from the fact that she had done so much for science, done so much for girls, and you can only do so much in your life, I think. And there was so much hidden rules and mannerisms at NASA that I don't think that she would have been able to come out and do the work that she did. So I'm in the camp where sometimes I think you have to pick your battles, and I think I think she was doing a lot and made a lot of effort to advance the needle in other areas. But if you guys don't agree with me, let me know, because it's kind of something that I've been trying to think about and wrestle with. Overall, I think this book was really good, and it was a really good book to read and consume to learn more about America's first women in space. And I really, really appreciated it, and I'm really glad that I finally picked it up, because it's been on my TBR for over 2 years now. So I'm really glad that the Reading Women Challenge gave me a reason to pick it up. If you guys have read this book, or if you are interested in Sally Ride, or if you know any more information, please let me know your thoughts, or what else you think I should read or watch or consume about Sally Ride or women in space in general in the comments below. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time.